Aaron, the metal theologian, and I forgot something kind of important, so hang on. Alright, ready to go. Got sort of a special video today, and that is that I got a VCLT pack from Mr. NicoMalcolm, to whom you should all subscribe, and I'll put a link below. A couple weeks ago it showed up, though, and he specifically said he didn't want me to open it live. He wanted me to listen to the records and digest them a little bit, and just talk about it a little bit. And so first of all, it's an honor. I mean, this is a hell of a pack. I mean, I was really kind of floored when I opened this thing up. So let me just say that first, okay? The generosity. But I have to say, I kind of got to a point where I felt like with a couple of these, I had a hard time articulating them because I don't necessarily feel like I have the vocabulary for some of these. Specifically it's because some of these are kind of newer sounds, which I recognize and I like, but I'm not sort of as fluent in sort of talking about it as I am with like 60s or 70s shit. So I'm going to bust out a drink and I'm going to take a shameless or run at it. Now, in Nico's honor, he busted out this one, which I actually did last year, but this is an excellent cola. Actually, Spencer's freaking out over this one. It's kind of ironic he isn't here right now, but he's crashed out. This is the Sipping Cherry Cola Spider Venom. And I think there's like a Halloween one, because you only really see it this time of year. Maybe you can get it other times if you know where to go, but I don't. And I actually don't really have much of a memory of this one, but I just remember it was really damn good. So, cheers. Yeah, man, it has like that cola bite, and then the cherry sort of comes in. The cherry's a lot more assertive than it is in a lot of cherry colas, but the cola's still there and like not playing games, so. Oh shit, I forgot to start my fucking video here. Alright, there we go. Alright, cool. I'm a fucking mess today, man, but actually I'm going out of town in a couple days, and so I want to get this done beforehand, and not that I'm exactly the king of preparation, but even less well prepared than usual. So, alright, so I'm going to go through these. I'm going to start, I'm going to do more or less chronologically, meaning I don't know exactly how the chronology falls. I'm also going to do it in the order that I want to talk about them, so. Oh shit. Alright, most of these are Norwegian. I kind of want to call this like Norwegian Spectacular Part 2. But, this first one is actually Danish. And this is one that he actually showed not all that long ago. This is Culpeper's Orchard, if I'm pronouncing that right. And I had heard of this record before, and I was a little bit sort of wary of it because I'd heard it was sort of on the folky side a little bit. This is a fantastic fucking record, though. This would have... okay, that psych video I did recently, where I was talking about like great psychedelic records, this would easily have gotten in there if I had been aware of it when I made that video. It definitely has some folky moves to it, right? But overall, it's psychedelic. I mean, and like genuinely psychedelic, not like psych because it came out in '67, like psych because like it's no shit psychedelic. But it's really tuneful too, man. The songs are really good. It's a really like listenable album. It's one of those that leaves you wanting more. It's not too long. And, I've said before, I don't listen to as much of this kind of music as I used to, but this one just held my attention and just, like, pulled me in, and next thing I knew it was all over, and I was like, shit, is that it? So, awesome record. Really appreciate being turned on to this, and I'm looking at this, the instrumentation's already weird, like, there's a guy who plays bass, organ, flute, two-finger piano, and percussion. I think I know what he's talking about with that, but, yeah. I don't know. Anyway, fantastic record. This is really good. Like I said, this is a Danish one. There's some really good records from Denmark, too. I mean, for me, Norway is still at the top of the heap when it comes to Scandinavian shit. And Sweden's at the bottom, and Denmark's right in the middle there. And I'm glad that Finland doesn't really count technically, because I wouldn't want to have to figure out where to stick them. Because their Finns are fucking great, too. But different culture. Okay, so that's Culpeper's Orchard. Here's another one that he had also talked about recently in a video. which I had never heard before, and this is, see, I can rip the shrink off again. This is the first Terje Rypdal solo album. And I was really surprised by this one because I was expecting this to be a much more sort of fully realized jazz album, but the very first song, like, first of all, it's a song. Like, it's like a song, like, with a tune and, like, with singing and all that. Completely threw me for a loop right off. But overall, this record really kind of struck me as sort of a transitional album between sort of the more rock-oriented stuff he was doing earlier and the full-on jazz that he went to later on. With mixed success, too. Some of his stuff I like a lot, some not so much, you know, and I'm far from having heard it all. I'm no expert on this guy, but probably my favorite thing that I've heard prior to this is that Min Bull album, which I think is actually later and kind of has some rock vibes to it, like with a jazz sensibility, but I mean, I don't know, I haven't followed in rock, but you kind of make an argument on either side of that. It's definitely not the kind of shit he was doing for ECM, right? Anyway, this record kind of, I was going to say it walks that line, but I feel like I'd just like to find a couple lines. This one somehow manages to walk them all. Like, it has the tunefulness, but it has the jazz sensibility, and it really kind of shows the development. It's like you had point A and point B, and this is the line connecting them that I didn't even realize was there until I listened to this record. So, it's a very good record. I don't know if it's the first Eurojazz record I would recommend to someone who is new to it. But I would also probably recommend something that was like really fucking free and would scare them off and they'd never get another chance. So what can I say? I might not be the person to do that anyway. Very cool record though, and one that I need to spend some time with. Don't be surprised if that one comes up again in a future video. Alright, this one, now we're getting into the ones that are kind of hard for me to discuss. This, he did a whole feature on this one not long ago, Nico did, and I recommend you watch it, because I watched it and I learned a lot just watching it. A band I knew nothing about, except that I've seen the movie Motorpsycho. That's all I knew about these guys. These guys have that sort of like newer kind of doomy sound. I'm actually cheating by playing it. There we go. But I put it on and let it run because I sort of wanted the different aspects of it to shine through, and I think it comes through best on this side to my ears. Actually, one thing right off the bat, one thing I really like about this record is it seemed like on the old 2 record sets the really crazy shit was always on side 3, and this kind of seems to maintain that. Maybe I haven't listened to the record enough times, but like if you listen to Freak Out by the Mothers, side 3 is the crazy shit, right? You know, I used to have a bunch of other examples, like right off the top of my head, when I would talk about this, like when I was in my 20s, but it's kind of all a fog now, because I've listened to different shit. But like, this one seems to like be the weirdest on side 3, and I dig that. It starts out with that really sort of like nice song, which for me kind of evokes the instrumental, the name of which is escaping me. But on Sabotage by Black Sabbath, you have Full in the Sky, and then like that really short instrumental that's sort of sandwiched in between that and the Center of the Universe. And that's kind of how that initial song works for me, even though it's a little bit longer. It has some really like nice songs on it, but interspersed with this sort of heavier rock thing. And then some really kind of freaky parts like that bit with the whispering and the sort of percussive guitar sounds. So it brings in a lot of different sort of elements, but it ties them together in a way that that I really respect. And this is really outside of my normal wheelhouse, this record. It's, I mean, God, when did this come out? I think it came out in like the mid-2000s. No, 93 originally, it looks like. So, okay. Yeah, it recorded in 92. So, I mean, that's kind of what it sounds like. It reminds me, I keep thinking of the Jesus Lizard listening to this, you know? I mean, maybe that's a bad example just because I'm ignorant when it comes to 90s shit, but, yeah, it's a sound that I do like, but yeah, I don't know what else to say about it, man. Just the pieces come together really well, and this is a really listenable record if you dig this kind of style, which I do, and I could stand to learn a hell of a lot more about. So, that might have been the hardest one for me to discuss. Now we're going to get to what's kind of the most special one to me, because this is the one that, you know, it's always the personal touch that really kind of makes me feel really good when I get a pack like this. And what I was honored to receive in this pack was not one, but 2 records by Planet Mastergod, which is actually Nico's band. I'm going to put this in so I can give you a little taste of it, and I'm pretty confident I won't get a copyright pop on this. But this is the more recent one of the 2. They actually sent me 2 records that, if I read these correctly, are 10 years apart. This one being about 2015. And check out this great gatefold. This is awesome. I showed this to my 11-year-old, and he was like, "That's weird." Look at that. What an awesome picture. So, and Nico's the drummer on these, by the way. So, one of his old Google pictures or something had him behind a drum set. When I saw the drummer, right on, man. No bullshit, you know. Not fucking around on the drums, saying, me, record sucks. You can tell he knows what he's doing. So this kind of has that kind of doomy sound too. One thing that this band has in common with Motorpsycho is that makes it a little bit hard for me to relate to, is I do tend to like stronger singers, you know what I mean? And these are both definitely... See, there's nothing wrong with that, but it kind of has that sort of 90s, a little bit more sort of cynical, a little bit more sort of distant feel, as opposed to an Eric Adams or a 70s singer like an Ian Gillan, who's just dramatic and more sort of a front man, you know what I mean? This, it kind of blends in more with the overall record, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, but it's something that's unaccustomed for me, so... God, this is good. So I'm saying is I really need to listen to it more. Alright, one of the things I have to say is I love the drum patterns on this. And they're even weirder on this one. Well, some of them are. I shouldn't be quite so far, but this is the earlier one. And this is actually 2005 if I'm not mistaken. So we go, no shit 45, and look, there's our man right there. Let's see if the light's kind of messing it up a little bit, but yeah, I don't know if that's really coming through very well in the picture, but that's him. You'll see him better once you subscribe to him, which I expect you to do. So anyway, great stuff. I wanted to go ahead and make the video and start talking about this for some of my initial impressions, but the Culpeper's Orchard I get. Terje Rypdal, I mostly get. These other ones, I'm just going to need a little bit more time to really sort of take this stuff in, you know what I mean? These are sounds that I really like. I can frankly hear that Planet Mastergod is Motorpsycho fans, you know? Getting Motorpsycho is a record that Nico loves, and then one by his band together, and hearing the similarities wasn't really that huge a shocker. It was a little bit funny, actually. But, yeah, but it's really cool stuff. One very notable difference is the Planet Mastergod stuff is definitely more sort of straight-ahead rock, and it's more like the kind of record you want to put on if you want to just hear something and sort of drone on it all the way through it, you know what I mean? As opposed to have these sort of interludes and these different sort of pieces and an interruption with a nice song, you know, like what Motorpsycho delivers. So... it's kind of 2 different takes on a similar sort of thing, a similar sort of style, a similar, fundamental underlying philosophy, but, yeah, but both great bands, man, so, yeah, check this stuff out. I don't know how easy it is to get Planet Mastergod in the US, but, if you get a chance, check it out, man. He's probably too modest to toot his own horn, but in the videos, because I haven't seen him talk about it, of course I haven't seen all his back videos, but... yeah, totally worth a listen, and, yeah, worth investigating. So, Nico, thank you so much. It's really an honor, you know, it's just to have my hands on this kind of shit and, select it in this kind of way, and, the fact that you were, value my opinion to the point where you, solicit it in that kind of way means a lot, so, I appreciate it, and everyone else, subscribe, I'm gonna put the link, and, yeah, be well. Thanks for watching.